team. They could join Redler All Access and do a bunch of things. So here we go, we're live. All right, so good morning. Good morning, everyone. My name is Scott Redler. I'm the Chief Strategic Officer of T3Live.com and also founder of Red Dog Mindset. We got a day, it's 6:31, it's April 2nd. A lot of people calling this a Liberation Day. Some people calling Tariff Day. Some people calling it Sugar Honey Iced Tea Day. It all depends on where you sit. All I know is it's a day that's going to have a lot of volatility. It's a day that, you know, could really either make you a lot of money, lose you a lot of money. So the only way I think that we could approach this is with multiple plans. You know, there are 3 different base cases for what he could do at 3 o'clock, but right now, it all depends. We have a lot of days ahead of us. Right now, the futures are down 10, 12 handles, and we're going to figure it out. So if you go here real quickly to the chart, we have the chart of the SPYs. Right now, we kind of, we're on the 4-hour chart. Let's go to the daily chart. You know that we had what we call a red dog reversal earlier in the week. It was a really nice setup where we went below 549.68. We claimed it. That was Monday. Yesterday was a little volatile, right? We had a little volatility, you know, but we wound up holding 553. We hit the 8-day, so a 2-day bounce ahead of what, you know, we see what happens today. We're still in a corrective tape. We're still in a bearish tape, and you know, chances are, you know, we'll see what goes on today. So, you know, I would treat this like a Fed day. You know, right now the futures are lower. Let me see what's going on here. I got to log into, hold on, I'll log into this red account. I think I'm down a little bit of money to start because I took some positions, not a whole lot of positions. I have a lot of options on, but let's see what's going on here. No, wrong password. All right, that's over here. All right, not too bad. What are the SPYs doing? The SPYs right now are, SPYs are down 277. That's not good. All right, well, anyway, we'll deal with that. So SPYs are down 277 at 558.20. Yesterday's low was 553.68. So we'll see what goes on there. Okay. So anyway, 553.68. That's where we're at. We're down 270. We'll see if we absorb some of this downside here. What are the Qs doing? The Qs are down 3, so 469. So we go to the daily chart of the Qs. The Qs right now are what's this? This is 464.42. So this 464 is a pretty big spot for this morning. So we're only at 469. So that's basically taking the kind of ramp up at the end of the day that we had. We don't have to look at the keys, you know, the key suspects, whatever you want to call it. Anyway, we'll simplify it today. So what was kind of strong yesterday? You had a little bit of the, you know, some of the Mag 7 names were strong. Some of the financials were strong, but definitely a little erratic. So we're going to turn to see how they're doing. What's Tesla doing this morning? I think they have the deliveries are down 6. Yesterday, Tesla was kind of odd, right? Remember Tesla yesterday? It was strong early on, and then all of a sudden, you know, when the market kind of bounced, it did not, you know, didn't participate. So yeah, it's 260.57. So we'll see if this holds. Let's go back to Tesla. Tesla's down 6. This is 260.57. It's a 262. Maybe that's a little spot to watch. I am definitely long a little Amazon. Not a lot, but a little. Amazon is what, 184.40. What was yesterday's low? Yesterday's low is 187.20. Here's 187.20. Do I have any SPYs on? No, that's good. So we'll see what goes on there. Amazon's down 221. So Tesla's down 6. You know, let's see where Bitcoin's up a little bit. That's interesting. So yesterday, you know, we were talking a little bit about the crazy move in gold, right? Gold has been in fuego. Gold for the asset allocators have been paying them. Gold for the momentum traders have been paying them. If you're you have your pie charts been paying, and Bitcoin has been kind of just a risk asset. Bitcoin has been just moving with tech, moving with the market, and then finally, when the S&P and the Qs made new lows on Monday, Bitcoin didn't make a new low, so that gave us some clues that maybe Bitcoin is getting a little bit better versus the S&P. What do I mean? Well, let's go back here one more time. SPYs made a new low on Monday, right? It went to 546 below 549. What did IBIT do, which is an ETF of Bitcoin? They made a higher low. So we'll see if this changes things. I'd like it to change things. I'd love for Bitcoin to start doing a little bit better. So I am long a little bit of IBIT, so that kind of helps the morning a little bit, but still, kind of below the downtrend. Hasn't been acting special, but if you're long the IBIT, you could be long versus this 46 area, and we'll see how it goes. But ultimately, it's nice to see that the SPYs are down. Just say, SPYs are down 3, and Bitcoin's flat. Something different, right? You got to always look for something different, to navigate. I will say yesterday, some of the Alpha team was a little mad at me. They're like, Red Dog, how come we're not in NM? These crazy IPOs that are going nuts. I'm taking WTF home long. So you took WTF home long because it closed really strong. You're down 24%, down $5. These home runner strikeouts aren't the easiest to deal with, right? So WTF down $5. This NMAX down $66. So, really, if you if you started to feel like you needed the dollar and the dream type play, which these are kind of dollar and dream type plays, you're coming in and you're a little bit behind the 8 ball here. So anyway, for this, I guess, see what happens. Like, look, so this is your daily chart. You don't have that much to go to. The good book would say to take this home long. Look how strong it closed. But again, with crazy names like this, the good book, sometimes could hurt you. So anyway, let me say hello to some of my dogs around the world. I have 19 comments coming in. Let's go back to the SPYs here, and we'll see what today brings. I wasn't expecting this kind of down open, but it is what it is. Here we go. Let's go to the comments. We got Topher, can Bitcoin fix Trump tariff tantrums? I don't know about that. Really tough market. So few trends are working. I agree. This has been a very tough market. It's been a very tough quarter. When you get the S&P down 10%, you have the Qs down 14%, and you have the best companies in the world down 20 to 40%, it's a little tricky and tough. Even if you're a good short, it hasn't been so easy. So just staying in the game, staying, with a strong mindset, at least, you get to figure out what's next. And ultimately, this volatility will create so many opportunities, just a matter of when. And you have to know what you can handle. IBIT looks good. What's my view on Meta? I think Meta is the same thing as most of the mega cap techs. A lot of them are trying to do a little bit of a broken bounce, and we have to see what happens. Tappan says, good morning. Good morning from Belmore. Patrick, China restrict companies to invest in the U.S. All right. Tariff Tuesday. What is Nvidia doing? Not down $1.65. That's all right, guys. So today's gonna be a day. Listen, this is why we get up. This is why we get prepared. This is why your time frame. This is why what you can handle. And don't get over your skis just because you think everyone's doing. Once tariff vows are over, should be the market race to the top. I personally think this is going to go on for 3 to 6 months. Like, why, if he's going to put all these tariffs on today, like he's not taking them off tomorrow, and if the administration wants to slow things down, if they want to reduce government spending, if they want to limit agencies with Doge, if they, if they're reining in the economy to get lower rates to refinance their debt, it's only been 1 quarter, and we just had 2 big years of gains. You had 24% up in the S&P last year, 20% the year before. All the S&P is down was 10.5%. The average year in the last 30 off highs is about 14-15%. So why would it stop today? But we're traders. That's different. Longer term, macro. A lot of you guys like, Red Dog, what are you doing with your blood in the street account? I've put a third in, okay, and I'm only going to do more if we go down further. So if you want to go to the S&P chart, somebody like, well, Red Dog, what are your levels? I'll give you my levels. Go to the S&P weekly chart. I've done this before. What you want to do is you want to write this down. Let's go. We have the weekly chart right here. Weekly chart. Okay, these are the levels on the weekly chart. So as of right now, though, okay, some people are like, hey, is this a double bottom? I don't. it's hard to tell. Right now, you had your first move lower. We bounced. We got rejected into where we broke down from around 57.86. And then earlier this week, we undercut 55.04, came back above it. So I put a third of my blood in the street account in here. I do not put more of it in unless we see 4 or 5% more to the downside. So 54.06, 52.64, these are all the levels I have mapped out. Not saying that they're going to hit them, but I do think in the next month we might. If you have a 401k, put money in monthly, that's different. But if you have a cash account and you want to allocate money, if you've already allocated a third, don't do any more. Wait. Anyway, with that being said, as far as today, actively to make money for a living, it's a different story. So if you're looking at the S&P cash, the low here is what? This is 55.58. We'll see if what happens here. I doubt we're gonna have an inside day, but I would think, pre 3 o'clock, they're not gonna let things, they're gonna be able to hopefully give a little bit of leeway. So that's the S&P cash. Here's the SPYs, 553.68. Once again, SPYs are at down 330, getting a little worse. So we'll see. I have some puts on, but I'm a little bit more longer than that. Here are the Qs. As I said before, so 553.68, we break that pre 3 o'clock, things get sloppier. In the Qs, the Qs have 564-ish. So right now the Qs have some room to there. Sometimes they hide an Apple. Apple's been decent. Apple right now, has a little inside wedge type pattern here where the low is 216-ish. So let's put that there. I don't think many people are really thinking that Apple's so special, but every now and then if they want to manipulate the S&P, it's 4 p.m. from the Rose Garden. Let's see what SPY's doing today. SPYs are down. I just said the SPYs. I'm sorry, Apple. Apple's down $1.46 at 221, so it's still having an inside day. So we'll see. It is not 4 p.m. Trump finger snap. Listen, guys, whatever you do, just don't have the over emotion. People are emotional today. A lot of people don't like the administration. He was voted in. He was voted in to do whatever it is, everyone thinks he should be doing, whether it's cutting government spending, whether it's getting rid of fraud, whether it's, America first, all the things that, he thinks is his mandate. I'm not saying what it is or it isn't. All I'm saying is that, you have your process, what you can handle, you have your multiple time frames, and we're going to figure it out. It's up to you to figure it out. It's not up to you to get pissed. It's not up to you to get upset. It's not up to you to yell at the TV set, kick the dog. It's up to you to say, hey, you know what, how do I make money today for the second quarter? How do I get a paycheck? How do I, make sure I can provide for my family? So this way, you're living, your best life somewhat. Blair, what's gnawing on a bone? It's a selection, not an election. Anyway, I'm not going to get into the whole politics of this whole thing here. All I know is, China in the video, there's news. China is said to restrict local companies from investing in the U.S. So right now the war is starting. China reportedly has taken steps to restrict local economies from investing in the U.S. Let's see what BABA is doing today. What's BABA doing? BABA is down 8 cents. So pretty wet blanket day. So if you come in long, what I would say is figure out, if we could buy versus certain levels to get a little bit of red to green. If we can't get red to green and they just turn this into a blanket sell, just make sure we just had a 2-day rally and there's a lot of room below. So make sure you don't just, have a false sense of security with whatever it is you're doing. As far as gold's concerned, gold's flattish. Gold's had a hell of a move. So at this particular point, see if it holds this gap. I said yesterday that I think at this point you should be reducing your gold position. It's been absolutely fantastic for asset allocators, for momentum traders, for guys that buy physical gold. But every time you're kind of extended from an area, you want to make sure you're just a little bit prudent. Let's see, what else? As far as, let's see. What do you say, CCJ? I haven't looked at CCJ in a while. CCJ's been pretty broken. Dash, somebody asked me. Dash is doing all right. Dash is looking better than some other names. Dash didn't make a new low. I think Dash needs to stay on your go-to list. You have 173.87 right here versus 169. So see if this holds. I'll probably look to buy a little bit of a dip in Dash. Oh, Tesla reports are out. 78K versus 89. Let's see what Tesla does here. Tesla's down 5. All right, my dogs, listen, cooler heads will prevail today. There's going to be a lot of different movements. There's going to be a lot of news. There's going to be a lot of rhetoric. So what you want to do is just have your levels prepared and figure out, what you want to do, how you want to go. If you want to do less today, you could do less today. You don't need to be caught in this mayhem. If today is like Fed day, I hate Fed days. Fed days are so erratic, so volatile. They try and, search for stops from the long side, stop you out from the short side. It gets very volatile. So just make sure you can handle what you can handle. HIMS, what does HIMS look like? I don't know. We'll see what that looks like. I haven't heard that in a while. This looks like everything else. Everything is pretty darn broken, to be honest. Someone said Meta. Again, we just had a little 2-day move. That's what it was. We had a new low in the S&P and the SPYs. We reclaimed the low. We got a little bit of a bounce. We're not as oversold, so the market could do whatever it wants today. So we'll see what happens. If he's as severe and harsh as possible, we could be down 100 handles today, and you better know what you can handle. And if all of a sudden it seems as if he's going to be a little bit more selective and a little bit more lenient, which I'm not saying he will, we could be up a lot. So just know where those levels are and just don't do anything in no man's land. Nothing. With that said, I got to do about 40 charts now for the Alpha team. I got to get everything moving. Once again, I will leave you with just the SPYs and the Qs. Here's your inside range. Can we hold above 553.68 this morning? If we can't, got to figure out what you want to do. In the Qs, can we hold above 464? If it can't, you have a move to the lows and watch mega cap tech, watch semis, watch some of these IPOs and figure out what you want to do. I appreciate you too, Chris. Thanks for tuning in, guys. And I'm going to go do my charts for the Alpha team and Redler All Access. And for those of you who are members of Red Dog Mindset and did the sauna this morning, did the workout, did the ice barrel, getting yourself feeling good so you can handle anything, congratulations. Getting your mind right is really 90% of the battle. The X's and O's are 10%. So if you do find value in the 630 Club, you've been tuning in since 2020. I've been doing this for 5 years. You should subscribe to Red Dog Mindset because I do put a lot of work in the pre-game to help you get ready to sit in your chair and execute with confidence. So with that being said, good luck today, guys.